All right, let's take a look at how your money performed on the FX commodities market. There we see in the last trading week was mixed performance across key indicators. Turnover rose by 2.52%, closing the week at 3.15%, from 1.25% in the last trading week. Volume of trades also rose by 2.27%, while the number of deals dropped by 1.49%, closing the week at 92 from 137 points in the last trading week. The last trading week there was also, we said the FX commodities index, that dropped by 1.03%, while the FX export index maintained at 229.25 points. So the volume of contracts traded now saw an increase in volume across maize, soybean, paddy rice, and cashew nut. For prices of across export commodities, it was mixed performance, with sesame, ginger, and wheat maintaining at 1,240 naira, 990 naira, and 440 naira, respectively. For other commodities, saw paddy rice at again about 8.19% to close at 500 naira. Cashew nut maintained at 632 naira, 73 kobo, while sorghum dropped by 4.42% to close at 400 naira. Cocoa also dropped by 6.49%, closing at 3,920 naira, and a soybean dropped 7.26%, closing at 337 naira 7 kobo. Across grain commodities, maize witnessed an increase of 6.62% and closed at 399 naira 99 kobo per kilogram. All right, let's get into the conversation now. The international community adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, setting out an ambitious and universal 15-year agenda to improve well-being, increase prosperity, and promote peace and good governance. With less than 8 years left, what can we expect? Joining us now is Similoluwa Emmanuel, Head Legal and Compliance at AFEX. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So talk to us about impact finance and how it differs from other forms of financing.
So we all know that one thing that is necessary for any business or any economy to thrive is financing. Now, there are different categories of finance. We have the traditional financing, where investors are focused on getting maximum returns on their investment. And moving from that, we have responsible financing. Here, responsible investors filter out potential business objectives. So you would find that responsible investors do not invest in any class of assets that would have a harmful impact. For example, investing in weapons. It's in this class that you would find most Islamic financiers. Moving one step further from this, you find sustainable investors. Now, this category of investors, they track environmental, social, and governance criteria before channeling their funds into any business venture. But from this point, the philosophy then starts to change from do no harm to intentionally and deliberately doing good. And that is the core philosophy behind impact investing. Impact investing has been quipped to be putting the soul back into finance. So generally, and to sum it up, impact investing is essentially the kind of investment that focuses not just on financial returns, but non-financial benefits, which includes global impact.
And since 2007, when impact investing was coined, how has the world fared in increasing, impact financing?
So between the 1980s and 1990s, businesses, scholars, international organizations began to realize the need to move away from simply investing in initiatives that would not cause harm, but into initiatives that deliberately seek to do global good. And this was when impact investment was finally coined in 2007. Since 2007, when this term was coined, it took about 15 years for impact financing to hit the $1 trillion milestone. Now, let me give some context. There are over $250 trillion global assets under management, and only $1 trillion out of that is accounted for by impact financing. It is, there has been considerable adoption of the term, but the effect, the expected implications of impact financing has not been felt at the scale that it was expected. So if I was to do a global grading of the effect of impact financing, I would scale it at about 60%. This isn't great because everywhere we turn, everywhere we look, we find the need for this kind of financing. In fact, the global World Investment Report of 2023 reveals at least $4 trillion impact financing deficit in developing countries. This has skyrocketed from the $2.5 trillion deficit that we had in 2015 when the SDGs, the world's most ambitious to-do list, was initially coined. So I wouldn't say that there has been a great performance in that regard.
All right, so how can impact financing or investing contribute to, achieving the SDGs?
So impact financing's role in achieving the SDGs simply means that impact investors need to channel funds into solutions that have global, wide-reaching, and transformative effects across the world. However, I would say that the SDG financing gap is symptomatic of a business model deficit. And what I mean is this: businesses, entrepreneurs, the world, countries at large have to shift their focus from simply creating initiatives or solutions that are focused solely on the financial returns. We need to realize that impact-based business models and financial returns are not mutually exclusive. In fact, at the core of impact-based business model is financial returns. However, these returns are also accompanied by sustainable impact. So impact-based business models need to be developed as a driver for long-term enterprise value. And also, moving from this, once we have these business models, impact investors need to rechannel funds. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development report, World Investment Report of 2023, shows that most of the impact financing has been going to developed economies. And these are not where the funds are actually needed. There needs to be a realignment or re-strategizing on the role of impact financiers or on the path of impact financiers. And now when they channel these funds into emerging economies or developing countries like Africa, they need to take into cognizance the context of where they are putting their funds. They need to relax some of the metrics that they use to determine where they can invest. And what I mean is this: they need to move from traditional business forms, from just investing in companies, funds, LLCs, into alternative business forms. For example, vocational institutions, schools, organized cooperatives. At Apex, for instance, we provide funds to smallholder farmers through organized cooperatives, thereby allowing them to improve their productivity during the season, increasing food security, which has a direct implication on SDG 2, zero hunger. And as you know, one of our core mantras as AFEX is helping Africa feed itself.
Yeah, definitely. Africa needs to feed itself. But before I let you go now, what are the risks of SDG washing and impact washing, just to attract impact-focused capital?
Okay, so this is a risk that would always exist. So let me give some context. SDG washing and impact washing simply means investors mimicking or falsely communicating a business framework that looks as though there would be impact or as though they track the SDG. And we saw this when there was an increase in reducing carbon emission and carbon footprints. We saw businesses create financial instruments like green bonds that simply attracted investment, but the funds were eventually channeled elsewhere. So greenwashing and impact washing is a risk that will continue to exist. However, I think there are two ways this risk would occur. One, where impact financiers over dilute the impact financing message or oversimplify the impact that they are seeking to contribute to. On the flip side, it can also arise on the part of the business ventures that, again, create business models or instruments that simply attract funds. But a way of mitigating against this risk is to have meaningful, measured indicators that can be reported. For instance, again, at AFEX, we do a frequent reporting. We have what we call the impact report. The last one was released in 2020, and we are on track to release another, where we have indicators that track the 169 SDG targets and the development goals themselves. So by having this meaningful reporting, we will be able to mitigate against this risk on a larger scale.
Yeah, we'll definitely be looking out for most of those reports. Thank you so much for coming on. Similoluwa Emmanuel, Head, Legal and Compliance, AFEX. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a moment now.